Reddit, what is your craziest dorm story? NSFW. I was visiting a friend at another school for the first time. He and I were planning on smoking until we walked into his dorm room and saw a girl on his bed in labor. We were both speechless until his roommate came running back from the bathroom with a wet towel and said, "Don't freak out. Don't freak out." The girl turned out to be the roommate's sister who lived nearby and was visiting. She went into labor a few weeks early, so everyone was thrown off guard. They eventually took an ambulance to the hospital, and once they were gone we saw that she was sitting on my friend's bed when her water broke. We ended up cleaning up the mess for a while and smoked like never before in order to get the image of a total stranger screaming her lungs out of our heads. My brother's frat flooded the second floor in the winter. They laid down plastic sheeting and then opened all the windows. It froze and was a badass indoor ice skating for a few days. Then the second floor collapsed through the first floor into the basement. They lost their charter. It's a miracle nobody died. This is the reason why you always have an engineer in your frat. My roommate was this geeky 400-pound guy who watched Sailor Moon in the original Japanese. He had a tiny red-headed girlfriend who regularly beat the shit out of him in daily life. And he let her. On like 6 PM on a Thursday, he suddenly asks me if I can vacate the dorm room until 11. As they're going to have some romantic time. I was a little pissed, said he gave me no warning. But left anyways. Get back at midnight and walk into a scene of her in black vinyl bondage gear with a riding crop and a taxi driver's hat. Riding him. With him covered in welts from head to toe. Nope, the hell right out of there. My friend and I decided we would prank a mutual friend, and so we bought glow-in-the-dark paint. We snuck into his dorm room while he was in class and painted giant DCKS all over his dorm walls and ceiling. I'm talking like 8-foot DCKS that are curving onto every corner of the room, jizzing all over the ceiling. It was just a wall of big ugly fat cocks coming everywhere. Luckily the paint dried on clear on the white walls, and when our friend went to bed that night, let's just say he definitely hated us. The paint really never came off, so him and his roommate, who hated us, had to sleep the rest of the semester gazing into the galaxy of cocks. Raw meat in the halls. Just like cuts of meat left on butcher paper in front of people's doors. Whoa. Sounds like you got a meat saint. First story. We turned the bathroom into a sauna slip and slide room. We plugged the shower drains and blocked the part with the toilets with sandbags because we didn't want the water getting over there and getting toilety. We then turned the showers on and flooded the bathroom and partied. Eventually our RA walked in, looked at what we were doing, and promptly left, since if he saw it he would have had to stop it. Second story. Someone played a prank on our dorm by releasing a duck on our floor, the third floor. The campus police were called, so they took the duck away. I forget who did it, but when questioned as to how, they said, "I walked up to the duck, put it in a box, and walked away with it." My freshman year I worked in addition to being in school. It was a Saturday night and I was scheduled to work very early the next morning. So I figured I'd shower that night so I could sleep a little bit later. I go into the showers on my floor, turn on the light, pull back the curtain, and I see every single guy on my floor standing together in the same shower stall. All of them completely clothed and standing in complete silence. Each of them had a red plastic cup filled with ping pong balls. As soon as they saw me, each of them screamed and ran like bloody hell out of there. I never knew what the duck that was about. They probably almost got caught drinking and playing drinking games by the hour, so they decided to hide in the shower with the evidence. I just realized, considering the fact that my roommate was a ducking coke dealer, very lit crazy stuff actually happened in my dorm room. Couple homeless people. Couple very drunk people. But nothing too out there. It's funny the massive variety of people that did coke though. People you'd never think did drugs. I walked in on my random roommate playing Chubby Bunny with women's panties. He was by himself. A friend of mine tells a story about his freshman year in a dorm with a roommate. The roommate was heading off to class. and my friend was ready to enjoy some quality alone time with some specialist gentleman's literature. For some reason, he decided this session was going to occur completely nude. Having disrobed, sat at his desk, firing up the internet. There was the rustling of keys in the door. For some reason, the roommate was coming back into the room. Thinking unfathomably quickly, he grabbed the open can of Dr. Pepper on the desk and poured it all over his body. As the door opened, he said, "God damn it. I spilled this Dr. Pepper all over myself." Mental reflexes of cat. Wait. But then he's just naked with Dr. Pepper on his body? Like the roommate was gonna say. Oh snap. You spilled Dr. Pepper on your naked body. Now I totally understand why you are naked. My sister once had a guy fall through her roof. I was there that day. In landing. Had a guy light one of the rooms on my floor on fire. He never got charged for it. But we knew it was him because googling his name led to an article about him lighting wildfires in his home state. Then he wrote a fake death threat to himself to gain sympathy and distract everyone from the whole fire thing. He was moved to a different dorm. Then he stabbed himself with scissors on campus and claimed to have been attacked. Campus police saw through his bullshit this time. He was expelled and threatened with arrest should he ever set foot on campus again. A year later I googled his name and he had killed himself. Shit got real. Real quick. My buddy and his black roommate were ducking around and broke a window in their dorm. His roommate said, "I can fix it," and wrote on a piece of paper. Tied the paper to a rock and put it in his room. They then called the RA and explained that some racist had thrown a rock through the window. There were several diversity seminars later that semester and the next. "Hey my man. Can you run down to D's room and pick up some acid for me? My cousin's in town this weekend and we wanna trip balls. But D won't sell to me. He's paranoid or something." I said yes. He was wearing a wire. One time, during a snowstorm, a girl in my dorm lost her bet and had to run a lap around the outside of the dorm in a bikini. It had already snowed 4-5 inches and it was still snowing. Another time, I was in my dorm and my roommate was home for the weekend. Around 4:30 or 5 AM, I was still awake. I heard a scratching, squeaking sound on my door. I got up and opened the door. And there was a girl standing there leaning on the door frame. I said, "Can I help you?" She smiled and then ran down the hall. I just shrugged and went to bed. The next day I found out the peepholes, which were apparently very easy to unscrew from the outside, from all the doors on my floor were stolen. Except mine. TL. Everyone knows that if a girl tries to steal your peephole but you catch her, she's obligated to have an LSX with you. This is known as the people's peephole poophole loophole. One night a guy in my dorm announced his GF was giving blowjobs to anyone who wanted it. Guys were lined up outside the door. Come in one at a time and she gave each one a blowjob. I can just imagine guys in line and someone walks by like, "So what's the line for?" Sounds like she was donating genital herpes to everyone. My flatmate invited everyone to see a really big poop he took, claiming it was ducking huge man. We all saw it and it was definitely as advertised. 7/10 overall because the poop smell. We duct taped 2 tubes together to make a beer bong long enough to reach 2 stories. We walked downstairs to the room below us and asked if we could bong a beer out our window into fires. After doing that we forgot to put the screen back onto our window and came back later that night drunk. Sat down to hear a duckling bat chilling on our futon next to us. We grabbed a tennis racket and chased it outside. Worst part was Ish T on my bed. Sometimes I wish we would have kept it. TL. DR. Probably shouldn't be reading these as I'm at my new student orientation and sleeping in a dorm for the first time tonight. Oh well. Judging from your user, you're either going to be a raging alcoholic or be a straighter edge than a knife. There was a pot farm in the ceiling between the floors of the dorm I was in back in sophomore year. I lived in the geek dorm of the school, but it was better known for being the party dorm. Drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever all the time, and finding a goddamned pot farm in the ceiling wasn't that out of the ordinary. My roommate spent the night at a girl's place to hook up. He was too drunk, passed out naked in her bed, and said himself. Edit. I should mention that this all happened when she left to go to the bathroom to freshen up. Came back to the disaster. Classic. Not one word of a lie. This guy was in RA and tried to commit suicide in his dorm room by lighting the room on fire. Oh, also, he was live streaming it to 4chan and apparently he had over 300 viewers or something. The fireman came just in time and I don't know whatever happened to him. I can find an article about it if needed. We had a guy leave his window open on the 3rd story and a pipe burst over Christmas break. It leaked down to the 2 dorms below and the 20 or so guys that stay behind emptied the dorms. We took everything down to the clothes and condoms out and stored them. The guys from the 2 soaked out dorms came back about a week later and everything was returned. The guitars, computers, CDs, all of it. I still can't believe we were able to find that many honest strangers. Beats out all the SX, ODs, and all the rest that happened there. Those are the things you were expecting when you clicked this thread. This was freshman year. One night, someone left a pile of shit right in the middle of our communal unisex bathroom. The people living on our floor, myself included, thought it was hilarious. RA didn't find it nearly as funny. He encouraged anyone with information on the phantom pooper to come forward. He put up a poster in the hallway for us to write on. With our bathroom being violated makes me feel. At the top, we filled it up with heartfelt sentiment such as it makes me feel shitty. How could anyone be such an asshole? Comma. And I've been pinching off my tears ever since. We never did discover the identity of the phantom pooper. Comma, the people living on our floor, myself included, thought it was hilarious. RA didn't find it nearly as funny. Finding poop on the floor becomes exponentially less amusing after you hit 21 years old. Mostly because you're old enough to understand that it's not going to disappear on its own. Roommate and his GF spent the night together in the top bunk and did nothing. The bed would have rattled and woken me, as it did when he jerked it. I like to think Noihing is Vietnamese for ass to mouth, his ass, his mouth, and assume you went to contortionist college and majored in contortionist Vietnamese. Probably when the flu swept our dorm floor so badly that we decided, as a group, to quarantine the sick in the lounge so their roommates wouldn't get sick. We moved beds into there and took care of them, carefully, and for the most part the roommates stayed healthy. We slapped a quarantine sign on the door and thought we were right smart. Until the school found out what we did. It seems putting a bunch of sick people in a room is a great way to infect everything in that room with bacteria and viruses. They shut the entire floor down for half a day while people in yellow biohazard suits came in and disposed of pretty much everything in the lounge and disinfected everything else. One time I was up late doing some homework and I finally finished up. So I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth. I was just standing there staring into the mirror and all of a sudden some kid on a unicycle comes in through the bathroom wearing a rainbow colored Phantom of the Opera mask and a thong. He salutes me as he comes through and then went down the hall. Apparently no one else saw him that night. E/1 for grammar cause trolls. I was a freshman and not particularly used to what drunks are like. So I left my dorm room's door open while I was in case any neighbors wanted to pop by. One Friday night some big guy who I didn't know strolls into my room, smelling like he was drenched in booze. He walks in a slow circle around the center of the room, bobbing his head and making uns noises as he goes, and then leaves without ever having acknowledged me. I stopped leaving my door open after that. After the fact it was pretty funny. At the time it happened though, I was pretty sure I was gonna get ARPed. If this happened like 5 years ago at ASU. The ducking laundry wars. Man. Nothing pissed me off more than going to collect my clean laundry, only to see it had been tossed out of its active cycle onto the floor. Still wet. What do you think, I'm just gonna wait around for you to finish? This shit would escalate so hard. It's crazy that we never actually encountered each other. I remember taking this bro's polo shirts, like a dozen of them, and spreading them out through different machines on high heat. One time I dropped a bunch of eggs into somebody's dryer load. I never started shit with anybody, but I was never afraid to take it 100 times further at their go ahead. Our dorm faced a river trail, so at night my friends and I would launch water balloons with a massive slingshot out at the drunk people walking back. Hell, we'd do it in the day too. The number of windows in the dorm kept us safe, despite many people charging and looking at the bushes outside to see who was using the water balloons. Also, the phantom shtter. One time I hit a hole in one on Tiger Woods' PGA Tour, and that's how I got my honorary doctorate at Arizona State. Not crazy, but I was making out with a girl freshman year in the dorms. It was right around Halloween. Had to pee, so I ran to bathroom. When I got back, we started making out again. Then my mouth started to tingle. In a bad way. I'm deathly allergic to peanuts. Turns out when I ran to the bathroom, she grabbed a Reese's peanut butter cup from the Halloween package her mom had sent her. The night ended there. For us. It continued on for me with a trip to hospital. We had this old building that was kind of a maze with like 8 wings. Half the wings had 3 floors of rooms and the other half had 2 floors of rooms. Each floor had 8-10 rooms and was single SX. Each wing had 1 RA. Except the RA for my wing mostly lived off campus with her boyfriend. So our wing was pretty much lawless. There was only 1 RA in the building who would really crack down on things when he patrolled through the building. So we had our other RA friend tell us his schedule and we planned parties for when he wouldn't come through our wing. After finals we always had monkey bike jousting in the halls. We'd go from floor to floor in each of the wings with the various champions asking for favors from the residents, which ranged from Kleenex to Mardi Gras beads to whole Y socks. RAs were given double rooms to themselves. One of them gave the extra bunk bed in her room to another resident on the floor below, and those guys had a triple-decker bunk bed for the year. I came back to my dorm around 3 in the morning after a long night studying. I collapsed onto my chair, which was right by my door. I forgot to lock the door. Around 4:30, a man broke into our floor, garden level, all girl, and was trying to enter all the rooms. Thankfully, they were all locked, except mine. He was caught right before he reached my room, though. I slept through all of it. Woke up to the police commotion. Magic mushrooms during a fire drill. That is all. My roommate brought a girl back once. It was insane. Short off the fire extinguishers. That shit was fun as hell. Okay, so this one time I came home from class and my roommate was like, yo, come check this out, and so I did come and check that out, and when I did it was 4 Bud Lights hidden in his closet. So I was like, well, you can't have alcohol in the dorms, it's against the rules, and he was like, I know, but I have it anyways. Long story short, later we shut all the blinds and drank them while playing video games. That guy was a pretty wild dude. Thanks for the gold, stranger. Because of you my subtle, passive-aggressive references to my internet popularity have increased dramatically. I don't care what else comes up on this thread. This will be my favorite story because of against the rules. I transferred to a new school as a junior and got a room in a 21+ co-ed dorm. Figured if I lived off campus I'd have no social life. I did buy out the room, so I had it to myself. There was a French exchange student who lived down the hall on the same floor. She eventually moved into my room and we made all the other guys jealous. 20 years later she's had a successful career so far, is still hot, and is the mother of my 2 kids. Asking her on a date was the best thing I have ever done in my life. Mademoiselle. At my university we have an annual summer ball with live music. dodgems, Ferris wheel, etc. That sets up outside my dorm building. Or specifically this year right outside mine and my neighbor's window. Seeing as a few of us didn't have tickets for the ball, we got drunk in my neighbor's room and decided it would be fun to set up my guitar amplifier with a microphone blasting out the window to heckle our mates, random people. And people we know got on the Ferris wheel, maybe 12 feet away from the window at most. We heckled the shit out of them to the extent of fully humiliating in front of everyone there. Because my amp is very ducking loud. Our masterpiece was blasting out an ISIS war song through an amplifier cranked to 11,000 and giggling like little girls, whilst everyone in the ball thought that my uni had adopted an extremist cell. We got a lot of evil looks that night. Either that or the crow we briefly adopted. Aptly named Jon Snow and or Russell Crowe. We had a lottery system that determined when you got to choose a dorm room. My freshman year, I won the first pick for sophomore year. I had difficulty finding someone to room with, so I wound up with a Jamaican exchange student. Over the summer I thought about it more and decided I didn't want to live with him. So I called the housing office and they said there was a French violinist that was going to need a roommate. I thought that would be a better fit, since I was a music major, so I went with it. Throughout the course of the first 6 months, 1. He filled up my entire hard drive with Asian PRN. This was back when an 80GB hard drive was large. 2. He was dating a 14-year-old who shitty in her thongs daily. Her nickname was Poopy Panty Panda. 3. He regularly threw my shitty out the window. 4. He drew a line with tape down the middle of the room to separate our sides. The duckhole was such a douche. Men. Nothing too exciting that I can think of off the top of my head. We played strip football in the dorm lounge a couple times. Girls against guys, of course. Dart. And we threw a PRN and cookies party in the lounge once too. We put Pirates on the TV and had a pinata filled with condoms and Mardi Gras beads. And once some guys smuggled crab legs out of the cafeteria and put them in the dryers in the freshman dorm and turned them on. Smelled awful. And there was an issue with someone leaving shitty in cups in the guys' restroom. The janitors stopped cleaning our bathrooms until that stopped. I think most of the interesting stuff that happened on campus was not dorm related. Edit. Yes. Crab legs. It's not like we were all fancy or anything. They only did it about once a year. And were very strict about how many each person could take. I went to a small liberal arts college. Usually we just had burgers under a heat lamp and then random casseroles. And on special days, hummus. One night we had a couple guys come back late after a night of partying and they were loud as duck and managed to wake up everyone on the floor, including our Rajo. I yelled at them a bit. And being drunk they started yelling back and tried to shove him. That was a bad idea. Joe was a short guy with a Napoleon complex and was constantly working out and doing martial arts, etc. Once they put a hand on him it was all over. Joe beat the holy hell out of them. And they were bloody messes once it was over.